So they probably thought Ethan was just going to run through everybody. And then my rubber guard ability comes from actually my striking ability. I learned a style of karate, not knowing that it was karate while I was.
What's up, jiu-jitsu fans? I am being joined by the founder and head coach of 10th Planet Seattle. He is one of Eddy Bravo's most highly regarded black belts, and now he's a new CJJ champion as well. So thank you so much, Nathan, for taking the time to join me. How's life after a great win this past Sunday?
Hey, thanks for having me. And gosh, I gotta tell you, I'm really soaking it up. I'm really enjoying it. It's just been a long time coming, and something I say a lot, like when I'm cutting weight, is hunger is the best seasoning, right? And I've been hungry for this belt for a long time, so feels really good. It's nice to have.
That's so awesome. And I remember seeing a really inspirational clip by you. I think Plaster had something to do with it, with the production, and I forget, it's Stuart Cooper Films. And you brought up a good point of losing and winning is kind of just an illusion, and that a lot of your motivation is just to be a jiu-jitsu practitioner. So obviously it's so nice to get that money, to get that belt, but as a jiu-jitsu guy, I'm sure that even if you did get a loss this past Sunday, it would still, feel this, feel some type of
the truth about it is that winning and losing are an illusion, but they're a very, very believable illusion, right? It's very easy to get wrapped up in it. And so, no, you're right. I mean, it's so easy to be ecstatic when you win, and it's so easy to be sad when you lose. But I mean, to tell you the truth, you should treat them the same, right? Because so one thing that I noticed, talking with all the guys after the event, is we weren't just sitting there talking about, we kept talking about all the lessons we learned. We still learned so many lessons about ourselves and our psychology and competing. And really, they say there's no losing, only learning. Well, if you're not learning when you're winning too, now you're not treating those two things the same. We all learn when we lose for sure, but can we also learn when we win, right? So that, I think, is one way to treat those two imposters just the same, right? As long as you're learning, it's all good. You know what I mean? Win or lose, that's what really matters. You can't just win and be like, cool, I don't need to learn anything. It's like, no, those are actually some of the most important lessons that need to be affirmed and remembered and, done again. So absolutely.
I love that. I love the mindset. And I was particularly excited to get you on the show because I know that Mike John was the one who got the overtime and maybe was the MVP of that specific tournament. But I could tell right away that on the microphone, you were so well-spoken. And even Eddy was so adorable and precious on the microphone. But it seemed to me like the way you speak, it's very much in a coaching mentality, able to break things down, and just such a long awaited time to get the big win like this. So take me back to the beginning of your journey, because you're a black belt under Eddy Bravo, but you spent some time in Portland as a co-founder of a gym there, and now you're in Seattle full-time. So tell me about how you got to where you are today.
Oh gosh, I mean, how far do you want to go back? I started wrestling when I was 12. I had my first MMA fight when I was 16. That's when I got armbarred. Holy shit, got to do jujitsu. Had 21 MMA fights total. I had 10 submissions in MMA. Then I decided I want to get ranked in jiu-jitsu. You know what? Hold on, my computer. I might have to plug it in real quick.
Hey guys, while Nathan is getting his charger, I thought I would remind you to like this video and subscribe if you don't already. My mom's working over there and I'm editing and finishing up this video. I hope you enjoy it. There's so much knowledge in this episode. So back to the video.
Basically, I lived in a small town. I Googled how to get ranked in jiu-jitsu. Just so happened a 10th Planet forum popped up. I recognized Eddy Bravo from back in the day when he would commentate on the UFC, Eddy Bravo Scoring. I knew he was the inventor of rubber guard and all this stuff. And so I was like, hey, the system seemed to really resonate with me and speak to me. So I started my journey to get my blue belt, which at the time the criteria was to post 15 matches of you winning with submissions, wearing 10th Planet clothes or throwing up the gang sign, right? So I'm like, cool, I can do that, So it took me a year to kind of get really recognized. I actually hit what is now called the Dead Orchard. It wasn't then. On a good friend of mine now, Mike DeWitt, who was like the hottest shit purple belt at the time. So I get that. I get noticed. Eddy gives me my blue belt online. I'm watering down the story because I've told it many times. I don't want to bore people with it, but I went down to LA. I tested for my purple belt. So I was a blue belt for a month. I was a purple belt for 14 months. I was a brown belt for 10 months. I went undefeated as brown belt, competed every month for 10 months. Got my black belt. That was 9 years ago now that I got my black belt.
Wow.
So I got my from blue to black technically in 2 years, but it was really a lifetime of MMA, wrestling, da 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 da. You know, it just looked like a short amount of time, but no, not really. So yeah, I've been competing nonstop as a black belt for 9 years, and I was an EBI 1 and many more. I've been in those events 13 or 14 times overall, and Polaris and some other things. I took second place in EBI 2. And I've taken second place in Combat Jiu Jitsu Worlds 4 times. And so, yeah, that's this win has been a long time coming. Again, as I've said before, it's not how I expected it to be, right? Like it, but in a sweeter way, like winning with a team somehow is more meaningful than even just by myself. So I love how it all went. You know, I couldn't be more stoked. It's been really cool.
I love that. And I feel like it was kind of an upset because, you know, B team has so much hype around them. So everyone kind of coming in was just like, oh, B team's the favorite in terms of like, you know, the physicality that they bring.
On paper, they're better than, I mean, look, someone said to me, I love it. They said 10th Planet survived for the win. Like all of us kind of went out there and kind of got like whooped around a little bit, but see, this is a game. We were playing a game, and the more rules there are, the more you can game it. Like you can't game submission only, no time limit. Okay. And I'm not the type to, I've never gamed a rule set in my life. It's not in my nature. That's why I haven't won it before, is because I just go for it so almost idiotically that I should play the game better. Well, being with the team, it wasn't about me. So I had to play the game for my brothers, you know, I had to do it. So we played the game right, you know, whereas I think B team went in with this mentality that they're just going to beat everybody. Well, that didn't work. You know what I mean? Like we gutted it out. We played the game right. We did it right. And again, it's like in war. If you're fighting, not that I have been to war, okay, but I've read books. in war, it's not about who's better. It's about who's smarter. It's about who plays the game right. Like, why would you want to take an enemy that's stronger than you head on? No, you got to use a little trickery. You got to use a little strategy. So, hey, we did what we had to do to win, and we won, and we got paid. And honestly, that's all anyone cares about. So,
yeah. So, in terms of strategy, when you're going into a quintet like scenario, do you think like a miss point on their part was maybe leaving their 16-year-old or their most least experienced guy like for the end? Like, how do you think that they could have improved their strategy going in?
Yeah, I mean, they shouldn't, I don't know if this is what they thought. I would imagine it is, and believably, I mean, understandably so, they probably thought Ethan was just going to run through everybody because, well, honestly, he's that damn good. You know, he really is. He really could have. But it's crazy the way it worked out. All my teammates are really, really good for sure. But yeah, I am the senior guy by a long shot on the team, by a long shot, you know? And so the fact that I met up with Ethan, which it's weird because my last match was against Ethan back in like June or something. So back-to-back matches with Ethan. I think I was the most cut out to survive Ethan, you know? Now, trust me, I wanted to tap him. I tried where I could. The dude is just a machine, you know? So actually, just surviving was winning. You know what I mean? So you know, what Mike John did, and even Ben Eddy, I think those two guys they shined the brightest. They had some of the coolest performances, the most glamorous, let's say. But my job was very important to survive Ethan. Yes. To survive, and I'm the one that somehow just by chance got that job, and it worked out for me. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know.
That moment where you were in the armbar and you got out of it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is great.
I just got back from the chiropractor getting my arm worked on just now. So it's not bad. It's not bad at all. It's not bad at all. But that was a damn good armbar. You know what's crazy is that was my third match with Ethan. The last one was in June. I met Ethan back in Nova Scotia in 2017. And I can't find that match online. It used to be online. I've been looking for it. I don't know what happened with it, but exact same situation. He had that, I think, the same arm, and I had the exact same escape. And it was a replay of something that happened 5 years ago, 6 years ago now. So that's crazy, you know. Been there, done that again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously just the chances of you guys getting paired up again, I feel like divine timing, coincidence, whatever you want to call it. I think it was just the perfect night for 10th Planet going in. It
curious. Felt orchestrated. We all just felt like, oh my gosh, it was like set up for us in this weird way. It literally couldn't have gone better. If there was one change, it may not have ended the way it ended, you know?
Yes, I know. It was so fun to watch, which kind of reminds me of taking back your wrestling background is your pedigree. And you saw that Eddy Bravo was like this innovator of rubber guard. It kind of surprises me that someone with like a wrestling background would be interested in playing a game that is so on your back. So what intrigued you about Eddy Bravo's game? And then how quickly were you able to just like be able to get into those positions? Has flexibility always been a thing for you, or is it more of like kind of cutting the angle?
No, that's good questions. First of all, I wasn't a great wrestler. Right. I really was. I love wrestling and I love takedowns. I love judo. I love the stand-up game. I love it. Okay. But I'm not the best wrestler. I really not. I don't, even when I wrestled, I had a strange style. So I've always done weird stuff. Okay. And then my rubber guard ability comes from actually my striking ability. I learned a style of karate, not knowing that it was karate while I was learning it. I thought I was just learning to punch and kick. But it basically, I can put my foot on your face in any way, right? Like I can kick you from different angles and just weird things, you know? And so my ability to kick is what gives me my ability to play rubber guard. I have flexible hips. I have leg dexterity. I can do things with my legs in jiu-jitsu that came from karate, honestly.
Shotokan, or what kind of style?
Well, I can't even tell you because my coach, okay, the guy, my old striking coach back in the day, his name's Jim Dolmage, okay, and he's an older gentleman, and if you saw him, you wouldn't. He's very unassuming. He'd whoop the shit out of you. He is a bad dude, and so he actually is one of these guys that's been doing martial arts since the 60s. You know what I mean? And the 60s, 70s. So he's been doing martial arts for 45, 50 years. So in his own right, he's a grandmaster. Okay. And he's done so much martial arts that there's a point in your life, especially when you get to a certain age, that your style is only your style. It isn't something else, right? So he named his style modern martial arts, right? Because what he did is he was my MMA coach, really. But he only really taught me to strike. He'd rather have me knock someone out than submit somebody, you know? So which makes sense. But oh frick, what was I saying? Either way,
karate and rubber guard.
Karate and rubber guard. Yeah. Oh yeah. No. So his style, it's his style. It's the Jim Dolmage way, you know. So you can only learn that specific. Now it's a mixture of everything. That's why he calls it modern martial arts, because it's every strike from every style. It's Taekwondo, it's Muay Thai, it's karate, it's boxing, it's kickboxing. You know what I mean? It's not just one thing, but it's turned into his thing. And then I got his style. And it is essentially as weird as my jiu-jitsu, right? Like, trust me, I'm no Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, but that's the style that closest fits my style. You know what I mean? It's a very karate. I may be even a little goofier. I think Stephen Thompson's much more disciplined and straightforward. I'm a little more still wild, I think, you know, just like my jiu-jitsu, you know? So it's just me. I'm just kind of a psycho. I don't know what to say. I'm just kind of a weird splatter painty type of martial artist.
Yeah. And that reminds me to ask you, when did the whole tongue out before a match come? Is that from MMA or is that a jiu-jitsu thing?
You know, it's not MMA. To tell you the truth, like I used to have this album. It's sad. My house got broken into one time and stolen. They stole an album of all things, but of a bunch of childhood pictures of me. Every picture of me as a kid, my mouth is open and my tongue's out. Whether it's like or whatever goofy, I was just a goofy kid. And so like when I look back, I realize, oh my gosh, I've kind of always done that, you know, always just had my mouth open and tongue out being crazy. But there was a time, you know, it's a culmination of a lot of things. You know, it's actually one of the inspirations is lion face in yoga, right? It's a thing that actually people don't like to do because it's uncomfortable and weird. In fact, I'm going to spoil a little secret for everybody right now. Sometimes at seminars or my class or something like that, we'll all take a picture together and I say, all right, we're doing lion face, which is like eyes open, mouth open, tongue out, like just full on, all right, but let it go. It makes people feel uncomfortable. It's kind of weird. You know what I mean? It's kind of different, but it's a way of accepting discomfort. It's also the face I want to make as I face my death, as opposed to, and I'm being a little dramatic, but really, as opposed to crying in fear, I'm like, no, let's meet this thing head on. Like, let's do this, you know? So when I'm competing, I'm in a way practicing dying. I'm practicing going at it with no fear, or in spite of fear, let's say, because there's always fear, you know?
I love that. And it brings me to a question of, you're so head on with death and kind of fighting in a sense of like, this is how I want to be before I die. Did you get that philosophical look inside of it before or after, I think, like any type of DMT or ayahuasca experiences? Because I looked at one of the things that you posted, not you, but the Stuart Cooper thing, and it had like ayahuasca music by it, and it looked like just something that was much more deep than just like, oh, I'm going out there to fight for money today. So I wasn't sure if like some of your philosophy.
Oh, you see right through me. It's true. No, it actually was a part of that. It really was. It was a part of connecting with my animal nature. But no, really. So it's a sad thing, but the guy who got me into jiu-jitsu, I regard him as my big brother. I mean, he was a senior my freshman year of high school, and we played football together and we wrestled, and his name's Aaron Lindsay. I called him Big A. And Big A was a special forces operator who's a bad dude in the Army. Well, as so many veterans do, he lost the battle with depression and he killed himself. But he is the one, I remember 14 years old, he taught me that I am a warrior. He taught me what being a warrior was. He told me to not be afraid of being a warrior. Like, he really, you know, he's the one who first made me, I think deep down I always wanted to be a warrior. I mean, I just am, you know, I can't even help it. But he made me understand that. He helped me recognize that and embrace it, you know? And so I've been fostering that warrior attitude since I was probably 12, 13, 14, you know? I mean, look, even before that, I grew up listening to World War II stories. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted to be a soldier. I wanted to be a warrior. Then my senior year, 3 days before high school started, my senior year, I shattered my ankle playing football. 16 fractures, foot backwards, completely 180 degrees backwards. And I remember, actually, surgery was more painful than breaking my leg itself. But after surgery, I get all these screws, 6-inch screws, and a 6-inch plate and 6 screws in my leg, which are still there. I remember crying in pain, and I said, I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. And that's when I realized, holy shit, I can't go kill people. I can't go be a soldier and kick indoors and hurt people. I learned so much about pain and suffering that I didn't want to perpetuate that at all, which is ironic because I'm a fighter, but it's like
very different though.
It's an agreement, you know. Martial arts is an agreement with somebody. War is a different thing, you know. So pain taught me that I didn't want to dish it out. You know what I mean? So anyway, kind of a long ramble there, but that's the story a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so valuable as a coach to be able to bring your own enlightenment onto other students without having them to actually go through any really crazy experiences. Like, a lot of the experience that you know and you're able to pass down just by words, I think is so powerful for the students that you have that are very lucky to have you at Seattle. So I'm happy that you have your gym going on there. You have a beautiful family as well. Is the $10,000 that you won, Are
Yeah.
you spending it on some Christmas presents? Are you just saving it, investing it? What's your plan with the
Oh,
prize money?
a little this, a little that. I'm gonna try and play it smart. The first thing that someone reminded me of was fucking taxes. So there's that. First, got to pay my taxes. But no, I mean, I was also given a piece of advice to not just pay bills with it, right? But to buy something that I wouldn't normally buy and make it special. Don't go crazy. But no, I mean, look, it's huge. It's huge to make. I mean, it's not even that much money. It's crazy how far $10,000 doesn't go that far nowadays. You know what I mean? When rents, whatever it is, like money's crazy these days. But for sure, it's a sigh of relief. At least momentarily. And um, I'm hoping, actually, I've got a Thailand camp coming up in April 7th to 13th in Koh Tao, Thailand. And I want to bring my family. And so now it's a little bit more feasible.
Yay.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So yeah, my
That's
kids
so
need to get out there.
exciting.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, I love how you're going back there because I know that's like a big energy point for you.
Yeah,
are you going to be
huge.
doing strictly jujitsu stuff, or Thailand, you're going to mix in the striking as well?
No, yeah, I don't, I actually years ago wanted to fight out there. But then, so I was talking to someone about taking a Muay Thai fight, and then they start to explain to me that Muay Thai, and I could be wrong, this is just my understanding, it's not just about the fight. It's a performance. It's a ritual. It's a thing. Whereas a lot of Westerners go out there and just like want to knock each other out. Like, you watch a good Thai fight, there's more than just that. And so I realized, I don't want to like mess up the vibe of Thai fighting, because I'd go out there and fucking fight, you know what I mean? But that's not the way to do it out there, as far as I know. But no, I'm gonna go out there and just do jujitsu, and I've just got some really, really, I mean, lifetime friends now out there, and I just want to spend time with them and get my family out there and just kind of relax a little bit, which is something I don't do very often.
No, that's awesome. I'm super happy for you. I know that over 18 years ago now, you had your first MMA fight and you went undefeated as a pro. Now that jiu-jitsu has the potential to become more mainstream, is that a big reason why you're sticking with jiu-jitsu? And do you ever see yourself getting back into MMA?
Well, look, if the payday was right, I'd get an MMA tomorrow. Like, I'm ready to go always. Like, I practice striking. I do my things. I'm a consistent martial artist, really. I don't just train. I think the difference between a martial artist and a fighter, it's just all my opinion, is that fighters train when they have a fight. Martial artists just train, So I'm kind of always ready to go. But I've also had quite a lot of head trauma in my life. And that's something that I don't like. It's something that has affected me, and I see it affect other people. I still do want to fight, but I don't know if it's the smartest thing to do. But like I said, if there was a paycheck, I would do it, because I really believe I could do very, very well at a very high level too. Seriously, like I've fought 21 times and have more jiu-jitsu matches than I can get. I've got a lifetime of martial arts of arts. I know how to fight. You know what I mean? So if the opportunity was right.
Very interesting. And as a coach, you've moved gyms before. I had a YouTube comment come in on how people feel like at BTeam, they might have, there was a Danaher Death Squad split, and how Coach Danaher is highly regarded, one of the greatest coaches of all time. Do you think that it is beneficial or a mistake for a fighter coming up in jiu-jitsu to not have a coach that is dedicated to coaching and isn't also competing, if that makes sense? Do you think it will stifle their growth because they don't have that coach who's just dedicated to not only their career, but their specific jiu-jitsu growth? Or is it okay that maybe Craig Jones is coaching them, but he's also competing? So does that make a huge difference, or should it not really matter?
I don't think that there's just not one way. Everyone is so different. Every circumstance is so different. There isn't a one size fits all sort of a situation. Some people need direction. Some people don't want direction. It's really hard to say. I couldn't say. In fact, I personally just like to do my thing, so I don't maybe I like to seek people out for information, but I wouldn't do well with someone telling me what to do at every step. You know what I mean? Some people need that. It's all really just what works for you, I guess, But yeah, that's all. That's pretty much what I feel about that. You know.
Yeah, that definitely.
I don't have a straight up answer.
Yeah, it definitely, I think, comes down to like where you're happiest too, which is
right.
like, so you can continue to keep training. So
that's right. It really, you know what, is about sustainability, you know? So, right, they say like, it's not about who's best, it's about who's left, right? It's like, dude, just stick in it and you will become something, somebody, somewhere, you know what I mean? It's that really, it's a battle of attrition, a war of attrition, right? Just don't quit. That's all there is to it.
for sure. And before I move on to our next segment, I wanted to bring up the idea of you die twice. The first time you die, and then the last time when someone speaks of your name. And I know you feel very, very honored because the Dead Orchard is a move, a very high probability move that people are going to be talking about for years and years to come. So can you tell me a little bit about how that name came to be and just what it means to like know that your name is part of it?
Well, it is something that is so surreal to me. I didn't have the imagination to dream up something as cool as getting a move named after me. I didn't have the capacity to think that up, right? So that it's been such a cool experience in my life, especially, you know, from a guy, Eddy. Eddy's who named it, you know. And the way it got named actually was I kept hitting it. I kept posting videos and a couple other people too. In fact, the first one ever hit was in 1997, I believe, in the UFC. But I think it was an accident. I hadn't ever seen one again before or since. I didn't know that at the time. Like, I had never seen that until one day someone put this presentation together of the Dead Orchard, the origins of it. And that's even when I learned that someone else had done it before. I didn't know. I didn't even know what I was doing. It was a complete accident. The Dead Orchard was accidental. But it was an accident that I did so many times that it became something. And so we get on the forum and we're like, hey, I said, we ought to think of a name for this, you know, instead of because technically what it is a 2-arm triangle armbar. That's not a very succinct name, right? You know, and so it's like, you know, us in 10th Planet, we want to name things. It's just easier. And so I seemed to be the one who was hitting it the most at the highest level. And someone's like, oh, call it the Angry Orchard. And I'm like, but I'm not angry, you know. I kind of joking around, and people thought of this, and people thought of there was a couple different names brought up, and then Eddy just gets on and posts. He just said it. He just used it in a sentence like da 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 Dead Orchard, and everyone's like, well, there it is, Dead Orchard, nailed, done. And I was like, damn, all right, well, it's official, I guess. Like, it felt really weird at first, you know. I didn't want to name it the Dead Orchard. It's almost embarrassing. Like, it sounds so weird to be teaching a class and be like, oh, Dead Orchard. It's like, that's my name. It's weird, but it's also a massive honor and it's super dope. And I've tried to humble myself enough to just say it. I'll just rock it. Fuck it. I'll rock the Dead Orchard. It's mine. All right, cool. Whatever. It's named after me. It's not mine, but you know, it's like, look, there's nothing new under the sun, right? That whole thing. But when someone systemizes, popularizes, I mean, that's who ends up really getting the credit. So, you know, it is what it is. And I basically was lucky is how I think of it, you know. But no, it's been awesome. And it is a super honor. And I have thought about the whole, you know, dying twice thing, and which is all just egoic, right? Like, that's the thing. We all just want to live forever. And that's why we all have kids. And that's why we all create art. And that's why we all do these things, because we don't want to be forgotten, you know, but our ego doesn't want to be forgotten. So sure, it feeds the ego. Great. And it's awesome. But, you know, that's all.
It is so cool. I mean, honestly, when I was like first getting into jujitsu, I didn't even realize that it was like named, like, this is when I really didn't know anyone. So don't like feel offended by this.
No,
but
no,
it
no,
just sounds like a real move, like Dead Orchard. Like, I don't know why. I just thought
no, listen.
I learned of you and I was like, oh, this makes so much more sense now.
I've had people walk in my school and be like, wait, Orchard? Dead Orchard? That's you? And I'm like, yeah. And that's cool. I like that too, you know, but it takes a little of the embarrassment away, because it doesn't have to be my last name. but it is. So that's cool.
Very, very cool. I love it. It brings me to one of the posts from Fabio on the B team after they lost. They're joking around, obviously. They're just like, we may have lost, but at least we don't believe that the earth is flat. So what is your take on some of the stigmas that 10th Planet has? And obviously he's just like poking fun at you guys, but
sure.
like
I love it. No,
like
no,
10th Planet
great.
has that stigma, you know?
Sure. Look, this is an interesting thing, and I'll try to make as much sense as I can. I have never personally, now do I, my logical brain, the way I've been conditioned through my childhood up to where I am, it makes sense to me that the earth is round. Okay, fine. When I listen to people talk about the earth being flat, if I were to tell you the truth, I think the most likely scenario is the hollow earth scenario. Okay. But regardless, I have never personally, with my own eyes, gone to outer space and looked down on the earth. So do I actually know? I can't say that I do. I can't say I truly know because I haven't experienced it. I can think it, I can believe it, but belief implies not knowing. So technically, we all believe, unless you've been outer space and you've seen the earth with your own eye, you only believe the earth is round too, right? So everyone's just fighting over beliefs. If we were to talk about what we actually know for a fact, know, there's only one thing that you can actually know. Do you know what it is?
That jujitsu works.
I like that. It doesn't always work though. It doesn't. No, the only thing you can actually know is that you are having an experience. That you are. That's all. That's all. Everything past that is subjective. Like, think about it. Like, think of someone who's colorblind. I see green, they see whatever other color. Well, who's right? You know? All I know is when I have dreams, I see people and I go to places and I do things, but where are those things existing? Only in my mind. So the external seems to be, but is it really? I'm only experiencing within me, you know? So we don't know shit. No one other than I'm having an experience. And my experience is different than your experience. So it's purely, in fact, I'm only experiencing you within my experience. So just like my dreams, you talking to you, doing the things, are how is it any different than I'm in a waking dream as opposed to a sleeping dream? But also, have you ever had a lucid dream, right, where you realize you're dreaming?
Yes.
Yeah. First of all, no one has a lucid dream and decides to have a nightmare, right? Whenever you realize you're dreaming, you have fun, you know? Kind of like life, right? If we were just to kind of wake up right now and just be like, holy shit, this waking state is not so different from my sleep. This waking dream is not so different from my sleeping dream because I'm perceiving externally. I see things outside of myself, but they're not. The things in my dreams are just within me, and so is my whole life, right? So that's tried. I mean, really, everything past that is just fun to talk about or argue about. But what do I know? I don't know the earth is round, flat, hollow, or fucking otherwise, right? I just know that I'm experiencing some shit, and you know, I try not to argue about what we don't know because we don't know. But it's all interesting, and it's all cool, and it's all theoretical, but it's like I just need to experience it, you know, and that's all I can say, you know. But
I love this tangent.
I
and
also
it makes go.
No, I was also gonna say oh shit, I lost it. That's okay. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say, now after you like went down the experience realm, it just reminds me of someone on my Instagram said, just look him in the eye and ask him, who are you? It was 10th Planet Pompano. And that they told him
that's the highest philosophical question that can be asked. And another way of saying who are you is what are you? What are you? Are you your mind? Are you your body? Or are you the thing experiencing a mind and body? You know, it's like knowing what you are is kind of like trying to look at your own eyeball. You can't do it. You can look at a mirror and see a reflection of your eyeball, but what you are is the pure subject, the experiencer. And the moment something becomes objective, meaning you can see it, it's an object, it's not you, because you're the experiencer of the objective. And so I can experience my mind, I can experience my body. So am I my mind or my body? No, because I can actually experience them apart from myself. Like, think of even the word my body. Well, whose body? Mine. But I'm not the body. I'm the possessor of the body and the mind, which go together, So anyway, it's a rabbit hole for sure.